Hello, thanks for joining me again. I'm here today with a book about tinkering. So I definitely want to do more tinkering projects with you online. I want to show you how I build stuff. And I want to get a way for you to show me how you build things. So keep building things because I hope that soon I'll have a way for you to share it with me. Right now, though, I'm going to read you a story about Rosie Revere. She's an engineer, just like you, and she loves to tinker with stuff. And I've read this story to you before in the library. That's okay. Let's read it again. Rosie Revere Engineer by Andrea, or maybe it's Andrea Beaty, illustrated by David Roberts. And I'm reading this aloud today with permission from Abrams Books for Young Readers in New York. Thank you, Abrams Books, for letting us do read alouds online for kids right now, because we can't read your books in person. If we could, we would love to read this book in the library. Let's look at all the different things that Rosie Revere tinkers with. Just enjoy this page for a minute. I love this page. I bet there's things that you have around your house that she has lying around her house. And then some of this stuff is things that she's made. Okay, so now we're going to read this story. I'm ready. This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. She's sitting. This is her. She's right there in the front row. But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer's stash. And late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in her hideaway under the eaves. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. She's too shy to show people her inventions. Oops. She just hides them. She doesn't want people to look at them. But look at all that cool stuff. When Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooping over one eye and made fine inventions for uncles and aunts. A hot dog dispenser and helium pants. The uncle she loved most was zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head, from parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud. But Fred slapped his knee, ha ha ha, and he chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed, and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. I love it, Fred hooted. Oh, truly I do. But Rosie Revere knew that could not be true. She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf and after that day kept her dreams to herself. And that's how it went, until one autumn day, her oldest relation showed up for a stay. Her great-great-aunt Rose was a true dynamo who'd worked building airplanes a long time ago. She told Rosie tales of the things she had done and goals she had checked off her list one by one. She gave a sad smile as she looked to the sky. The only thrill left on my list is to fly. But time never lingers as long as it seems. I'll chalk that one up to an old lady's dreams. She never got to fly. That night, as Rosie lay wide-eyed in bed, a daring idea crept into her head. Could she build a gizmo to help her aunt fly? She looked at the cheese hat and said, No, not I. But questions are tricky and some hold on tight, and this one kept Rosie awake through the night. So when dawn approached and red streaks lit the sky, young Rosie knew just how to make her ant fly. She worked and she worked till the day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out onto the lawn to give her invention a test just to see the ridiculous flop it might turn out to be. She likes building things out of cheese. I like that. We need more things built out of cheese. Strapped into the cockpit, she flipped on the switch. The Hello Cheese copter sputtered and twitched. It floated a moment and whirled round and round, then froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. Then Rosie heard laughter and turned round to see, the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. Oh no, we've been here before. She laughed till she wheezed and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, oh no, never, not ever again will I try to build something to sputter or spin, or build with a lever, a switch, or a gear, and never will I be a great engineer. She turned round to leave, but then Great-Great-Aunt Rose grabbed a hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. You did it! Hooray! It's the perfect first try! Your great flop is over. It's time for the next. Young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, perplexed. I failed, said dear Rosie. It's just made of trash. Didn't you see it? The cheese copter crashed. Yes, said her great aunt. It crashed. This is true. But first, it did just what it needed to do. Before it crashed, Rosie, before that, it flew. It did. Your brilliant first flop was a raging success. Come on, let's get busy and on to the next. She handed a notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life may have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. That's a pretty bold lesson. They worked till the sun sneaked away to its bed. Aunt Rose tied her headscarf around Rosie's head. She sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear, to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. At Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 build gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer, but none quite as proudly as Rosie Revere. And they build just like we build. Building is so good for your brain. And when we build as kids, and there's her aunt, in the copter. When we build as kids at school, we're not trying to make things perfect or even make them work right. We're trying to grow our brains and get ideas, and so that we can become the great next inventors and solve problems and create technology. And when we build things as kids, we are practicing. So parents, listen, let your kids tinker with all this cool stuff. I'm going to go back to my favorite picture. Where is it? Oh, this is a pretty good one. Just let them play with stuff around the house and see what they can build, but ask them about it. Say, like, what are you building? Like, what does that do? What problem does that solve? What type of technology is that? And I'm going to make some more tinkering videos for you. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.